Chapter 0. You are listening at FameTV.info. Riel. Ariel swallowed nervously when she heard Arzion calling for her. Had he already freshened up before her arrival? Arjun's short hair was still slick, it hadn't been dried off yet. His body oozed warmth and smelled of refreshing herbs. Ariel, who unconsciously inhaled the scent, blushed when she felt it blend in with Arjun's natural scent. Did he notice it? A soft smile appeared on Arjun's face. He reached out to Ariel and said, "Come here." If this had been in the past, she would have immediately gone to him and seated herself by his side without giving it a single forethought. However, now, she was hesitant. Arjun's eyes narrowed at her display of hesitation. "Come on." Ariel flinched at the words. The softness in his voice was the same as before, but somehow his tone had a hint of an authoritative declaration, so overwhelming that she couldn't bring herself to decline. "Shaun," Ariel called him with a slight tremble in her voice. Then Arzion came closer to her as if he couldn't wait any longer. He only took a single step, but before she knew it, a huge, gargantuan figure obstructed her vision. Slowly raising her head, Ariel blankly looked at Arjun's face, which was dubbed God's gift. Arjun's smile deepened at Ariel's gaze. He stretched out his hand toward her. The moment his hand touched her, Ariel frantically suppressed a scream from breaking out. It was because Arjun's hands gently grabbed her breasts. As she was in a nightgown that was as thin and delicate as a dragonfly's wings, his sudden touch was akin to him touching her bare. Arjun's grasp tightened as he lifted her swollen breasts as if supporting them. Yuk. Ariel couldn't stand the feeling of being squeezed so tightly and let out a groan. Even at that sound, Arzion did not remove his hand but rather fondled her breast as if kneading bread dough. "Oh. Ha. Shaun. Slow down." Ariel was startled and tried to back away from him, but Arjun's arm held her firmly by the waist. Everything was composed and proper, everything but the busy hand playing with her breasts. It was rough and violent. Ariel lost all her strength in an instant at the sudden stimulation. A tingling sensation that began at the tip of her chest gradually spread throughout her body. "Ah. Ngg. She gasped desperately for breath as her moans shortened. Then, Arjun's finger grabbed the nipple that poked out of the fabric and twisted it. "Ah. Oh." Ariel's vision turned white and her legs went completely soft. Fortunately, Arjun's other arm held her firm, preventing her from falling on the floor in an unsightly manner. While Ariel was panting from her unfinished climax, Arzion hugged her and placed her on the edge of the bed. Then he knelt in front of her. He was looking at her with a passionate but naive look, like a puppy awaiting praise. From that glance, Ariel realized what he was waiting for. Arjun's act of touching and massaging her breast a while ago was yesterday's review. Now that the review was over, it was time to praise him for doing well and move on to today's progress. But Ariel's face burned as bright as a ripe apple. Yesterday was the end of fondling over the clothes. Today, it was no longer over the clothes, but bare skin. The fact kept making Ariel hesitate. "Riel, does it hurt?" "If that's the case, no, it's not like that." Arzion, who was looking at her worriedly, tried to get up but Ariel quickly grabbed his clothes. "Oh no, you can't turn back now." Ariel squeezed her eyes shut and pulled the end of her ribbon. The skimpy nightgown she had been wearing on purpose slid down effortlessly with a single pull of her hand. Ariel, who tried to take it off herself, instinctively hugged the falling nightgown in her arms. But soon, her nightgown fell to the floor. It was because Arzion had tugged at her wrist. "Shaun." Ariel followed his gaze to where it was affixed, on her pale breast, where his red handprints remained. Pink nipples stood erect under the cool caress of the night air. Arjun's eyes looked at her as if they were licking them. A belated sense of shame overcame her. She tried to cover her chest with her arm, but Arzion didn't loosen his grip on her wrist. "Riel." The voice calling her had become low. No, it didn't sound like a human voice, but somehow sounded more like a beast's growl. Arjun's face slowly descended to her chest. Ariel trembled unconsciously as she felt his rough breath brush the end of her nipple. Seeing her tremble, Arzayan asked, "Can I suck your breasts?" There was no shame or hesitation on Arjun's face as he spat out the lewd words that made her mind go numb. Looking at his face full of innocence as if he had merely asked if he could eat candy, Ariel realized that she had to feel embarrassed for his sake, too. Now, Arzayan doesn't know what he's going to do. If so, should I stop? But instead of stopping him, Ariel weakly nodded her head. Arzayan, on being granted permission, opened his mouth wide without hesitation and devoured her plump white breast greedily. Suck. The obscene sounds of sucking flesh echoed in the room. However, Ariel couldn't afford to care about the sounds now. Arzayan, who had been sucking her breast as if he would pluck it out, was now using his tongue to lick her erect nipples. Shown, shown. Ha. Ah. Saint, stop. Surprised by his strength, Ariel's body flailed, but Arzayan, who had buried his face in her chest, continued to greedily covet her breast, ignoring her pleas. While one of her breasts was being sucked by Arjun's mouth, the other was occasionally being pulled and kneaded as if his hand wouldn't leave it alone. The soft flesh was squeezed and kneaded into different shapes under his hand. Goodness. Ariel wanted to faint right away seeing Arzayan frantically cling to her like this. What would happen if people find out that Arzayan had done something like this? Arzayan would soon become a paladin. But if anyone finds out that he coveted a woman like this, he will be excommunicated. If that happens, then Arzayan would never be able to become a paladin. Ariel bit her lips as soon as she remembered this detail. The stigma that Arzayan would have to carry for the rest of his life was exactly what she wanted. Ariel recalled the goal she had been trying to achieve over the past few days, that was to corrupt Arzayan using her body and prevent him from becoming a paladin. That was what Ariel wanted. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.